This is a question for Mr. Parekh. Okay, so this is question. How is the National Smart Grid Mission? There are certain programs initiated by government. Specifically speaking about the Smart Grid Mission. So boosting the energy transition process.
Yeah, Sahil, I think so. This is a good question. The government is taking a lot of initiatives, especially to promote the use of energy transition. There are agencies who are primarily working on, let's say, the highway electrifications, by which you are able to create a network of smart energy charging, EV charging systems. Also, in terms of, let's say, the grid resolution, today we are discussing with multiple utilities where they are talking of, how do you really automate the substations so that the entire grid can be monitored from a central desk. So a lot of initiatives being taken by the government, and while we talk of this, the government is also really talking of strengthening the grid, the distribution network, where the RDSS programs now have been built in. A lot of investments are happening for building smart ring main units, underground cabling, especially on the coastal areas where, because of storms and other things, there are damages, outages. So all these places, a lot of movement is being done by the government, and I believe very shortly you can see that India will be on a very strong distribution network.
Thank you, sir, for the explanation. Heading to Mr. Baldev. So, government initiative, especially National Smart Grid Mission, how is it boosting the RE integration?
Needs all-round efforts regarding the grid stability and grid, whatever additional things, whatever additional measures are required. The government has, you can say, come out with all these things. There are, you can say, regulations coming up. There are a lot of emphasis on these maybe battery storage systems. The new projects which are coming, they are coming with the battery storage, with the systems that the inverters are coming with the, you can say, grid forming capabilities. So that is there. And the transmission also, the facilities are being built up. So this smart grid means we have to, the grid, if it is the conventional grid, maybe we will not be able to achieve what we are looking at. The smart grid only has to deliver. It will be the only thing which will be able to deliver the fast changing, you can say, scenario in the country today. The things are overtaking us. The things are going at a pace which we are not able to maybe manage even. So the smartness is required in the grid, and that is what the government is doing from all the, you can say, sides, all angles. They are being looked into to see that the whatever is being done, it is, you can say, everything is falling in place. They are not, the things are not happening at random, and they are being linked with each other. And that is what the Smart Grid Mission is all about.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. So this is a question to Mr. Milind Solanki. Again, speaking about the national government initiatives, this is about the Smart Meter National Program. So how this program has helped the utility sector?
So the Smart Meter National Program was basically initiated by EESL, Energy Efficiency Services Limited, with an intent of creating a, installing smart meters for around 250 million smart meters across India. Now this program, of course, is now superseded by RDSS, right, which we call it. And if we talk about NSGM, which was before it, it did a pilot across India on various smart meters. As EY, we are proud to say that we were associated with this program from conceptualization until delivery or mid of delivery. But if I say this is basically the program which set the stage for the smart metering in India. There were a lot of learnings which were taken from this program and then translated into the standard bidding document that was prepared nationwide by Ministry of Power for all of the Indian power distribution utilities to implement around, again, 250.
Moving ahead, this is a question for Mr. Pankaj Sethi. Pankaj sir, the question is, with advancements in this sector, utility sector, there are a hell lot of data involved. So how the data can be protected?
Yes, so as the digitalization is taking place in almost every aspect of energy, okay, whether it's a consumer data, billing data, or energy production data, and energy being a strategic power sector, strategic sector for a national importance also. So production of data and overall security of the network is very, very essential. So that's how the government is now very particular about the cybersecurity aspect, especially into the energy sector. So more than any other sector that we see, that cybersecurity is being pushed into energy very, very forcefully now. Okay, you see that as part of the SPD, which Milind just mentioned. So the SPD document specifies the standards which any product that is being installed in the automation system of electrical network, and if it is communicating, it has to comply with standards like IC 62351-3 or 62443-4-2. Okay, 4-1, again, the companies which are making the products, it's not that the product they made is compliant. Okay, so the companies also need to have their production processes also compliant to the security standards, right? And industry at this stage is evolving. Okay, the manufacturers are evolving with the requirement, and because this is not just India, it is cybersecurity is a topic for the entire world. So the manufacturers are now in the phase of getting the certifications done, and the entire product processes, manufacturing processes being revised and revamped, and the new products that would be coming up would be much more compliant to the cybersecurity network, cybersecurity requirements. So that's how the data protection is one aspect of being done through the forceful compliance through the governments.
Thank you, sir. There's a question from the attendants, attendees. Are the DISCOMs in India ready for ADMS implementation?
Of course, see, the ADMS implementation, it's not about being ready or not being ready. This is already happening. Okay, now you see what is RDSS. This RDSS project itself talks about implementation of ADMS system into their networks, and every city, like any major cities, classified into class A city, class B city, class A city, like that. So they have to have this ADMS system if they are participating in RDSS, right? So it's not a choice now for everybody. They have to be there. They have to be ready.
Probably on this, I'd like to come in, to talk about what Pankaj just mentioned. So,
sir, yeah, of course.
So while the RDSS framework does classify the utilities, which can implement the DMS, not ADMS, they are clubbing it as of now, but it's again on population base. If I remember it correctly, it is, I think earlier the RPDRP program was for 2.5 lakh or more population, and now I think it is around 1 lakh or more. I think 100 odd cities, if I'm not wrong, would be covered. We recently met a lot of our clients, and this question was asked by them as well. So ADMS is a very subjective term, right, when it comes to implementation. And as Pankaj said, I totally agree that in terms of implementation, it's a software, you can implement it. But when it comes to automation, right, you have to decide for yourself what is the level of automation that you want to take in the distribution network, where the return on investment is not as much as it is in the transmission, right? So from that perspective, in terms of taking those equipments or being ready for that, in the current scenario, the readiness is not so much. All right. In terms of the automation on the field, which complements the ADMS, and the second most important aspect which goes into implementation of ADMS is the GIS. GIS is also something which was again part of the RPDRP program, then again IPDS program and others. But when you talk about the update, while the network may or may not be updated, but there are progressive utilities which are doing it. But then if you look at the quality of the data, you would not be very happy about it. So that as a foundational measure is something that they really need to look at and focus and have specialized vendors coming into place. Because if you talk about RPDRP, IPDS, these are all now 10 years old. So the product also has a lifespan, right? So people from RGIS and other colleagues from GE Small World, etc., have kind of moved out. So they need to revamp, implement newer products that can be integrated seamlessly with ADMS, etc. So that needs to be looked at holistically, and introspect. A lot of introspection is basically required to, determine the readiness of the utilities.
That's why we are in the session, so to discuss about the smart things, the evolution and the okay. So this is a question for Mr. Venkatesh. So how do you foresee power generation sources contributing to India's net zero ambition?
Very important question, Sohail. And if you see the background which I have, every second counts. What we are doing, need to be done at a faster pace. The ambition of adding renewables, adding more into our system creates a lot of imbalances. And how do we manage that with flexible modular solutions is very important. And there, we cannot start to look at individual sources and their costs. The financial aspect of it should be looked at it as a holistic energy price, holistic energy model. That would then actually bring more stability, more forward-thinking aspects, and less disruptions. And that's very important. Disruptions cause much more challenges than actual cost of power. So today we are not having the real cost of power, where we need to look at individual sources. And also what we need to look at is today we are having also mechanisms which are only supporting the minimal cost power. There we need to bring in also changes to the policies and guidances that each of these sources, which are maybe running for a few hours, few minutes, they get also the priority there because of their importance in the stability and that aspect. So that's very important. And we need to move away from this thinking of 1 hour, 30-minute type of solutions towards a 5-15-minute type of thinking, So that is where importance need to come in. And once that comes in, we are able to also support and look at it with a holistic design, as many of my co-panelists also indicated. We need different sources, different solutions in the system. Also importantly, we need to have a good grid management system, energy management system in the grid, which will also be more smart, that we are able to forecast. In some of the countries, they can forecast a week's plan of what they will run when. Today, we are still suffering that type of an approach. So that are areas where we need to look at. And together, we are on the right track. We are building right solutions. And the country is poised for a bigger directions, like 500 gigawatts into 2030. It's a big ambition there and a big target. So for that, we need to substantiate with these type of multiple scenarios and solutions, which can then serve the purpose.
Thank you, sir. Nicely explained. There's a question for Mr. Pankaj. Question is how power forecast is using through blockchain technology. Yeah.
Just spur of the thought. Traditionally, what is happening is that we know that we have a lot of exchanges like PXIL is there, IEX has come up, then we have our GTAM is also implemented. So we have a lot of exchanges, and now with the rise of prosumer, there are companies like AutoGrid which are implementing solutions, microgrid solutions, right, which are basically coming into peer-to-peer energy trading. When we talk about peer-to-peer energy trading, the base of it is blockchain, right? So I don't see that it is a problem or a challenge. And in the near future, even the energy transactions happening between the utilities and the suppliers or the production suppliers in the markets currently in India, where it would be an issue to implement blockchain. That being said, since we are also now moving towards something known as market coupling, where we are trying to, merge all of them together, I feel having a prospect of blockchain as the technology where the transactions can be verified is a very exciting prospect. So whoever has asked this question, it's a good point.
Maybe I can also shortly compliment with respect to that
Right,
question.
sir.
As an OEM, if you would see, data is the oil of this century, and today, what we are picking up data, the sensors, the technology improvements which have done, is also helping us to be much more mature to predict and also preventive maintenances. All these type of dimensions also come into play. So technological advances also require this blockchain and machine learning and different aspects of it. And that is helping us to also bridge towards bigger disruption, reduce the disruptions, reduce the aspects of it. So it's very important, and data will play a major role here in this century, and in the coming years, that will be the direction finder also.
Mr. Ripunja Parekh, would you like to speak something, sir?
On the specific to the blockchain technology, I may not have much knowledge, but yes, I echo what Venkatesh said, what the other colleagues said, that yes, power demand forecasting is going to be an interesting topic. Today, as we said rightly, with the RMUs, with the substations being automated, we are able to really create a sort of a forecasting method in terms of how the power movement is happening, the power demand is getting generated, and very shortly it would be easy to predict in terms of how the power generation demand will shape up, and the utilities may be able to plan their power consumption, or let's say power buying from various sources based on that.
Thank you, sir.